Hare Krishna, Prabhu and Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So, welcome to the Mangalarti program and wish you so-called a Happy New Year. I'm saying so-called Happy New Year because this is not our New Year according to the Hindu culture. This is not the New Year, but still people, they call it a New Year, so fine, we are doing the New Year, but more than the New Year, we are here to have the Mangalarti and the Bhagavatam class. And so somehow, it has got so much subtle effect on every one of us that we have forgotten our own New Year. Like we have the New Year, it starts from the Navratra first day in the Northern India. Same thing I think Southern India also. Hamara Northern India mein, we have the New Year which starts from Navratra first day. अभी चैत के नवरात्रि आएंगे, उसके पहले दिन को हमारा नया साल शुरू होता है. हाँ, तो like see different, we have the different cultures है ना, so but somehow that जब वो नया साल आता है वो हमारा
Vaishnav culture, it is from Gaur Purnima.
From Vaishnav culture, yeah, it's a Gaur Purnima here, right? So, but we have forgotten that culture. But anyway, that's fine. But we have to remember that when it comes to when we have the New Year, Navratra first day, so that we celebrate in the house, we will have some special days offered to the Lord and all. So we try to celebrate, but not everyone says it's like a New Year. Kids, they do not know that's the New Year. But somehow, the kids have to be reminded that that's what our culture, otherwise they would forget it. Day before yesterday, Vasudev was telling me that today 1st January, there is some river in Amsterdam. They would go and take the bath in the river. I know the temperature is almost -1 and 2. And how would you take a bath? They said there are some winter jackets. It won't get wet, and with that they will take a bath. So I said, son, you can go there, but it's not required for you to go there, because in the Christianity, like we have the holy river on the auspicious occasions, we go and take a dip in the holy river. Same thing, the Christians, they have the belief, there are certain places are there which are considered holy for them, and they go and take a dip in that river. And in baptism, it is considered that if you take a dip in the river, you are baptized, you become the Christian. One of our close relatives' daughter, she went to Canada for the studies, and in the university, most of the students around her were Christians. So one day, some of the students took her to the river. They said, okay, we will take a bath. She took the bath in the river, and after that they said, oh, you become a Christian now. Now she returned to India, and she told the parents, now I adopted Christianity, so you find a Christian boy for me. So we have to remember that it's very important that our children gets reminded that what is our culture. But anyway, so now we will have some discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the verses. I was not able to do the justice in terms of my preparation, because last evening, by the time we returned to home, it was almost 1:30. We were just in Abu Dhabi, we went to the Cornish. So there were some fireworks there, so we met the kids. And in the morning when I got up 4 o'clock, I was so much sleepy, and I was wondering, I was wondering that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, we should be chanting every day 64 rounds, And Prabhupada gave the concession, instead of 64, you should be chanting 16 rounds. So I said, why not about the Mangalarti, Why should have morning, Why can't you do the afternoon? But So I said, why not? Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave this concession. But anyway, Mangalarti is always very auspicious, Prabhuji and Mataji, it's very auspicious. And so we will take up one of the verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the 4th canto, 4th chapter, verse number 12. I believe we have recited this verse some time back. If not, still we will recite it again. It is 4:12. And after that, we will have some discussion on the background and few other things from the verse. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskar. नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयामुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति भवती नैष्टिकी. This is Canto 4, Chapter 4, Verse number 12. Doshan, 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 Pareshan, 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 Hi, Guneshu, 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 Sadhavo, 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 Doshan Pareshan Hi Guneshu 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 Sadhavo, Grananti, 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 Keche, 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 Na, Bhavadrisho, 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 Vijay, 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 Doshan Pareshan Hi Guneshu Sadhavo, Doshan Pareshan Hi Guneshu Sadhavo, Grananti Keched Na Bhavadrisho Dvija, 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 Doshan Pareshan Hi Guneshu Sadhavo, Doshan Pareshan Hi Guneshu Sadhavo, Grananti Keched Na Bhavadrisho Dvija, Grananti Keched Na Bhavadrisho Dvija, Gunamsha, 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 Falgun, 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 Bahuli, Bahuli, Karishnavo, 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 Doshan Pareshan Hi Guneshu Sadhavo, Doshan Pareshan Hi Guneshu Sadhavo, Grananti Keched Na Bhavadrisho Dvija, Grananti Keched Na Bhavadrisho Dvija, Gunam Shafalgun Bahuli Karishnavo, Gunam Shafalgun Bahuli Karishnavo, Gunam Shafalgun Bahuli Karishnavo, Gunam Shafalgun Bahuli Karishnavo, Mahatma, 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 Teshu, Teshu, Avida, 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 Bhavan, 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 Agham, Agham, Doshan Pareshan Hi Guneshu Sadhavo,
Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhavo.
गृह्णन्ति केचित् न भवादृशो द्विज
Grananti kechin navavadrisho dvija.
गुणांश फल्गुन् बहुलीकरिष्णभो
Gunamsha falgun bahulikarishnavo.
महत्तमास्तेषु अविदद्भवानघम् महत्तमास्तेषु अविदद्भवानघम् दोषान् परेषां हि गुणेषु साधवो
Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhavo.
गृह्णन्ति केचित् न भवादृशो द्विज
Grananti kechin navavadrisho dvija.
गुणांश फल्गुन् बहुलीकरिष्णवो
Gunamsha falgun bahulikarishnavo.
महत्तमास्तेषु अविदद्भवानघम्
Upholds,
Paresham
of
of others.
he for Guneshu, the qualities, Sadhavaha, sadhus, Grananti, fine, Kechit, some, na, not, Bhavadrishaha, like you, Vijaya, or twice born, Gunan, qualities, Cha, and Falgun, small, Bahuli Karishnavaha, greatly magnified, Mahattamaha, the greatest person, Teshu, among them, Avidat, fine, Bhavan, you, Agam, fault. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Twice born Dakṣa, a man like you, can simply find fault in the qualities of others. Lord Śiva, however, not only finds no faults with others' qualities, but if someone has a little good quality, he magnifies greatly. Unfortunately, you have found fault with such a great soul.
King Dakṣa is addressed here by his daughter Satī as Dvija, twice born. Twice born refers to the higher classes of men, namely the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. In other words, a Dvija is not an ordinary man, but one who has studied the Vedic literature from a spiritual master and can discriminate between a good and bad. Therefore, it is supposed that he understands logic and philosophy. Satī, Dakṣa's daughter, put before him sound arguments. There are some highly qualified persons who accept only the good qualities of others. Just as a bee is always interested in the honey in the flower and does not consider the thorns and colors. Highly qualified persons who are uncommon accept only the good qualities of others, not considering their bad qualities, whereas the common man can judge what are good qualities and what are bad qualities. Among the uncommonly good souls, there are still gradations, and the best good soul is one who accepts an insignificant asset of a person and magnifies that a good quality. Lord Śiva is also called Ashutosha, which refers to one who is satisfied very easily and who offers to any person the highest level of benediction. For example, once a devotee of a Lord Śiva wanted a benediction that whenever he touched someone on the head, that person's head would at once be separated from his trunk. Lord Śiva agreed. Although the benediction asked was not very commendable because the devotee wanted to kill his enemy, Lord Śiva considered the devotee's good qualities in worshipping and satisfying him and granted the benediction. Thus, Lord Śiva accepted his bad qualities as magnificently good qualities. But Satī accused her father, "You are just the opposite. Although Lord Shiva has so many good qualities and no bad qualities at all, you have accepted him as a bad and found fault with him. Because of your accepting his good qualities to be bad, instead of your becoming the most exalted soul, you have become the most fallen. A man becomes the greatest soul by accepting the goodness of others' qualities, but by unnecessarily considering others' good qualities to be bad, you have become the lowest of the fallen soul. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Doshan paresham niguneshu sadhavo.
Doshan paresham niguneshu sadhavo.
Grananti kechinna bhavadrisho vija.
Grananti kechinna bhavadrisho vija.
Gunam shafalgun bahuli karishnavo.
Gunam shafalgun bahuli karishnavo.
Mahatmasteshu
vidabhavat vanagam.
Mahatmasteshu vidabhavanagam.
Doshan pareshan hi guneshu sadhavo.
Paresham.
Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhavo.
Grananti kechinna bhavadrisho duja.
Grananti kechinna bhavadrisho duja.
Gunam shapalgun bahuli karishnavo.
Gunam shapalgun bahuli karishnavo.
Mahattamastesha avidad bhavan agam.
Mahatmastesha vidyat bhavanagam.
Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhavo.
Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhavo.
Grananti kechinna bhavadrisho vija.
Grananti kechinna bhavadrisho vija.
Gunam shafalgun bahuli karishnavo.
Gunam shafalgun bahuli karishnavo.
Mahatmastesha vidyat bhavan agam.
Mahatmastesha vidyat bhavanagam.
Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhavo.
Doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhavo.
Grananti kechinna bhavadrisho dvija.
Grananti kechinna bhavadrisho dvija.
Gunam shafalgun bahuli karishnavo.
Gunam shafalgun bahuli karishnavo.
Mahatmasteshu avidad bhavanagam.
Mahatmastesha vidyat bhavanagam.
Prabhu, in the background of this verse, as you know, in the beginning of the fourth chapter, there is a discussion between Vidura and Maitreya Muni, whereas Vidura inquires from Maitreya Muni that Lord Shiva, he is auspicious to everybody, but why did Dakṣa become inimical to Lord Shiva, and particularly inimical with her own daughter, with his own daughter? Like, what was the cause of animosity between Dakṣa and Shiva? And then Maitreya Muni starts describing it, and he gives a narration of a past incident where Dakṣa Maharaj, he organized a sacrifice, and in the sacrifice everybody came in, including Brahma and Shiva, and all the great personalities were there. When Dakṣa Maharaj entered into the sacrificial arena, everybody got up from the seat, but Lord Shiva did not get up from the seat. And seeing this, Dakṣa Maharaj got very much offended, and he got so much offended that in front of everybody he started criticizing Lord Shiva, and very first thing said, that he is a very shameless person, and he said, I don't know why did I marry my daughter to him. His eyes are like a monkey's eyes, and my daughter's eyes like a deer's eyes, and there is no match between my daughter and Lord Shiva. And somebody said, why did you marry your daughter with him if you know that his eyes are like monkey's eyes and did not see it before, right? So he said, no, I did not want to marry my daughter with Shiva. It's my father Brahmaji told me to get your daughter married with Shiva. So I married my daughter to Shiva. But after marriage, I got to know there's such a dirty boy that he stays in the crematorium. Not only stays in the crematorium, but he stays naked. Not only stays naked, but while he stays naked, he smears the ashes of the dead bodies on his body. And ornaments are just skulls of the dead bodies. And he continued to insult Lord Shiva in this manner, and at some point he became so much angry that he left the sacrificial area. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that it seems that people were trying to stop Dakṣa not to leave the sacrifice without completing it. But he was so much angry that he couldn't control his anger, and he did not obey even his father. Even Brahma was also sitting there. He did not listen to even Brahmaji, and he left the place. And thereafter, just before he left, he mentioned one more thing. He said, although the demigods are supposed to be given the share in the sacrifice, but in this sacrifice, Lord Shiva will not get his share. And with these words, he left the sacrificial arena. And Lord Shiva and associates were still sitting over there. And Nandi, who is an associate of Lord Shiva, when he heard all these insulting words, he couldn't tolerate it. And then he cursed the people, not the people exactly, the Brahmanas who were sitting in the sacrificial arena, because nobody spoke. And he cursed them that you will be bereft of the spiritual knowledge and you will continue to do the karam kanda, fruitive activities. So that curse is still continuing now, that most of the Brahmanas, what we see, Brahmana should be supposed to have the knowledge about Brahma, about Krishna. But nowadays in the society we see the Brahmanas don't have the knowledge about Krishna. Very few, hardly you will see any Brahmana, right, who speaks about Krishna. But most of them around us, they are engaged in the fruitive activities. So this is the curse which is continuing from thousands of years back. And when Nanda finished his part, then the Prabhu, who was the priest, chief priest, that was his turn. Then he started cursing the people who were the followers of Shiva. And he said all the followers of Shiva will become the atheist. They will be pakhandi. Pakhandi, outside you are something and inside something, right? Externally to show that you are a devotee, but you are not a devotee.
Hypocrites.
Yeah, hypocrites. You will be hypocrites. You will be the atheist, and the worshipper of Shiva will be eating the flesh and doing all this karam kandas. So even now we see that most of the followers of Lord Shiva, they are the atheists. Atheist in the sense they don't have much faith in the Lord. They don't follow the scriptures, and still they drink, smoke, and eat the flesh. When you see for the yatra, South End there is one yatra which goes to I think it's Shabrimala. So that time you see most of the Shiva followers there, right? How do they worship the Shiva? So the point is that the curse of what was exchanged between the two categories, the two groups, is still prevalent. And when Lord Shiva saw that both the groups were cursing and counter-cursing, he couldn't tolerate it. And then he decided to leave the sacrificial arena. So the matter finished at that point of time, but the animosity continued for a long time. And after a while, the Dakṣa was appointed as chief Prajapati, the rulers of all the Prajapatis. And that time he decided to hold another sacrifice. And he did not invite his daughter, but the daughter could see, because they are all celestial bodies, and daughter could see that her other sisters were going to the father's house. So she also got excited that I must also go to my father's house, because she has not been to her father's house for a long time. And then she approached her husband, Shiva, that I would like to go with you to my father's house. And now Lord Shiva is trying to explain her that why she should not go to her father's house. So Lord Shiva is giving the different reasons that why you should not go to your father's house. And first of all, he said, that you have not been invited, so you should not go to your father's house. Then she counter-argues that, okay, if it is my father's house, spiritual master house, blah, blah, right? You don't need the invitation. Without invitation, also you can go. So then Lord Shiva says, if that is the case, the person should not be in the bodily conception, should not see the body of the person, or a person should not honor a person based on his bodily identification, right? So Lord Shiva wanted to tell his wife, that in the past your father has insulted me based on my bodily features. And then Lord Shiva says that in the past I did not get up from my seat because I did not want to honor somebody who would just look at the external features, who himself is in the bodily conception. And Prabhupada says in the purport that Brahma and Shiva, they have a higher position than the Prajapatis. But Dakṣa was not seeing the higher position of Brahma and Shiva. Rather, he was seeing Dakṣa as his son-in-law. So he said, you should not go to your father's house. And finally, he warned his wife that if at all you go to your father's house, you will have to tolerate a lot of disrespect, and the disrespect will be as good as your death. But Sati was so much obsessed with a desire to go to the father's house and meet with her sisters, that she couldn't take up Lord Shiva's advice as it is. And she was so much disturbed. And Bhagavatam it says that she was doing up and down in the room, as somebody is upset, what the person will do. She was doing up and down, walking in the room, trying to find out, what to do. And even Lord Shiva was also watching her. Let's see what she is going to do. And finally, she couldn't control her anger. And Bhagavatam says, that she became so much angry. She wanted to burn Shiva with her own anger, with her own eyes. That much anger she came. And although Shiva is her husband, but that's the nature of anger. Prabhupada says in the purports. Throughout this episode, several places Prabhupada says about the anger. That once a person is angry, then he forgets everything. So she was so much angry that she wanted to burn Shiva with her own eyes. And in that mood, she left the place. Lord Shiva's Ashose wanted to stop her, but they were so much afraid that she is so much angry, and she could not burn Shiva from her anger. But if he tried to stop her, they would be burned, certainly, because she has got the power of destruction also, being the associate of Shiva. So what they decided, okay, now we should follow the consort of our master. So then they followed Sati Devi, and Sati Devi reached her father's house, and she was received by everybody except by her father. And she ignored everyone's respect, but she remembered her husband's words, that when you reach your father's house, you will not be respected by anybody, particularly your father. So that was in her mind, and she was watching that how she is going to be received by her father. And as Lord Shiva had warned her, she was not received by her father. And then she got very much angry. And she was already angry, and now she became even more angry upon her father. And in that mood, she started speaking to her father. So I think this is the second or the verse number 12. But before that, I think she starts speaking verse number 11. So first, she is glorifying her husband. She says, Lord Shiva is the most beloved of all the living entities. He is no rival. No one is very dear to him. No one is his enemy. So she said, Lord Shiva is dear to, he is most beloved of everybody. Everyone loves Lord Shiva. Why? Because he has no enemy, no friend. He sees everybody with equal vision. Right? But still, we are so much envious of him. And then, in that mood, she recites this verse. So in this verse, the first, second, fourth line, those lines are for the people like us. And the third line is for the people who are the devotees of the Lord. That's why Maharaj, he liked this verse. And once, I think he made us to memorize this verse. So since then I remember this verse. So we will see a few points from this verse. Some of the points we have discussed in the past. But it's very instructive and it's worthwhile to be reminded what mistakes generally we do. So the verse starts by saying, Doshan Paresham Hi Guneshu Sadhu. The Doshan is the faults. It's not one dosha, more than one doshan. It's a plural, doshan. And Paresham means par isha, par दूसरे लोगों के अंदर है. It's not pareshan. Many times you were laughing, right? People who know Hindi, they could make out the difference, right? Pareshan means person who is disturbed, right? Yeah, paresham, the other people, right? Doshan paresham. Hi guneshu sadhavo. Doshan means fault, paresham, others. Guneshu, gunon ke andar. Like sarva vedeshu, vedon ke andar. So guneshu मतलब गुणों के अंदर. साधवो जो साधु लोग होते हैं. So doshan pareshan hi guneshu sadhavo. Grananti means find. Like two places you will see find word has come, second and fourth line. Grananti, find. Grananti. Kechit means some. Na, not. Bhava drisha, like you. Bhava means you. Drisha means like. हम कहते हैं ना आप जैसे है ना कि तेरे जैसे लोग तो ऐसे ही करेंगे, right? That's what she is telling her father. She is so much angry, you can't imagine, right? So doshan paresham hi guneshu sadhu grananti kechit na bhava drisho dvija. वो कहते हैं आप जैसे लोग क्या करते हैं, जिनके अंदर गुण होते हैं उनके गुणों के अंदर भी दोष निकालते हैं, right? That's what she wanted to say. And गुणांश फलगुण बहुली करिष्णवो. लेकिन जो मेरे पति जैसे लोग हैं शी इज टॉकिंग अबाउट हर हस्बैंड, राइट. तेरे जैसे लोग तो ये करेंगे, लेकिन मेरे पति को देखो क्या करता है, राइट. गुणांश फलगुण बहुली करिष्णवो, कि गुणांश फलगुण, कि किसी के अंदर थोड़ा सा भी गुण हो, फलगुण मतलब बहुत थोड़ा सा है, बहुली करिष्णवो, तो वो क्या करते हैं कि बहुली करिष्णवो, दे मैग्निफाइड इट so much, you can't imagine. And but महत्तमास्तेषु अविदत भवानघम, कि बट तूने क्या किया है, what you did, कि unfortunately you have found fault with such a great soul. Bhavan means you, agham means it's a papa, and avidat again finding him. So here Sati Devi is telling us the nature of the living entities, because Dakṣa Prajapati is our forefathers, we are all his descendants, right? So we have also inherited some of the qualities of our descendants. And not only that, every living entity is in different modes of nature, like mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. And Prabhupada says in this material world, most of the living entities, most means 99.99%, they are not Krishna conscious, and they are in the mode of ignorance. And some of them are above mode of ignorance and they are in passion, and very few are in the mode of goodness. So finding faults is not the quality of the person who is in the mode of goodness. It's more of the quality of the person who is in the mode of passion, and mostly person who is in the completely in ignorance. They are the one who find the faults in others. And I think I mentioned sometime back in the class that once Giriraj Swami Maharaj, he was giving the lecture. So he mentioned that in this material world, we find 5 kinds of people. In terms of the people who see the good and bad. And what are those categories of people? Does anyone remember, Prabhu? We discussed some time back. So the first, the one who shuru mein jo shuru hota hai, the first category of the person, they general tendency is just to find the faults. They will see simply bad and bad. Right? That's what she is saying. Doshan parisham gunisha sadhu. कि गुणों के अंदर भी दोष है ना, गुणों को तो उसको सोचना ही गुणों के बारे में है कि नहीं है, राइट. कि जस्ट यू सी द फॉल्ट्स इन दैट पर्सन, राइट. दैट्स द फर्स्ट कैटेगरी. एंड व्हाई डू वी सी जस्ट द फॉल्ट्स इन समवन, और इफ यू जस्ट सी फॉल्ट्स इन समवन, व्हाट डज इट मीन? वी डोंट लाइक दैट पर्सन, दैट्स द रीजन. बिकॉज इफ यू डोंट लाइक द पर्सन, then the person may be whatever good the person he or she may be, we don't want to see the goodness in, right? And on the other hand, अगर हम किसी को, if you like somebody, the person may have hundreds of faults, right? But still he is good for us, right or no? Happens with the kids, right? जो हमारे बच्चे हैं, right? कितने बुरे क्यों नहीं, right? But still they are good for us, right? Because we like them, we love them. Ramchandra Puri did not like the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was served the prasadam, and he did not like it. He was envious of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He entered the room of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He saw there was some ants creeping on the floor, and immediately he started criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that what kind of sannyasi you are. You are eating so much sweets, that's why so many ants are there. Right? Very simple thing. So that's how, that's the nature of the first category of person. And the second category of person, they see both good and bad. But consciously, they neglect good and they focus on bad only. And once Gaur Gopal Prabhu was giving the lecture, so he was narrating one incident about a dog. He was a very expert dog in the West, very expert dog. And the one man was watching, the dog, he entered into this supermarket. He picked up, what is that, one chips packet. He went to the counter, took out the money from the bag, which was hanging around his neck, paid the money to the cashier. Cashier returned the money. The money was short of, $1. He caught the pant of the cashier, that where is $1 more. The cashier returned $1 more to him. Then he got to the bus stop, got in the bus, then finally reached to the master's house. And the person who was watching the dog, he was mesmerized. He said, what kind of dog is this? So he followed the dog all the way up to the master's house. And then the house was closed and the dog was trying to get into the house. And with the paws, he was scratching the window so that he can get into the house. And the master opened the door. And as soon as master opened the door, immediately he started beating the dog, beaten black and blue. And then the person who was following the dog, he couldn't stop anymore. And he asked the master, that you don't believe how wonderful dog you have got. He did all these things. And now why are you beating him? He said in the last 1 week, 2 times it happened. that he forgot the keys in the house. So I had to open the house, right? So what kind of dog is this? So see, that's a true story. But what does it show? That the person he neglected, consciously neglected so many good things, and just focus on only one bad thing. And same thing with it happens with us, even in our family members, even with the devotees community. The devotee may have done hundreds of good things, right? But you just find one bad thing, then the person becomes bad, right? Then the bad thing becomes the talk of the town. Everybody starts talking about the bad thing, and they keep all the good things aside. Isn't it, right? Happens or not?
Always.
Right? Always happens, right? So you see good and bad, but consciously you neglect. You don't allow your mind to go to the good things. You simply focus on bad things, and then you start talking about that bad thing, the faults. And sorry?
Even our bosses.
Even our bosses, yeah. Even our bosses, yeah, Prabhu. So it happens. And we should remember we are also the boss. So when you're talking, you're thinking about your boss. But you remember you're also the boss. So that's what happens, Prabhu. We never see the faults in us, right? Whenever we hear the Bhagavatam, we always think it applies to others. Right? That's the nature. Right?
They're receiving it.
Right? It applies to others. Right? So, and the third category of people, they see good and bad, but they stay neutral. They neither talk about good nor talk about bad. Right? So many times we see in the program also, like when in Delhi or some other places, the devotees start sharing, their frustration, blah blah, right? So then again I had to tell them, "Acha Prabhu, dekho, ये प्रभु ये सेवा करते हैं ना, माता जी ये करते हैं, ये करते हैं, ये करते हैं, करते नहीं करते, हाँ करते हैं ना, तो ठीक है अभी आप बोलो ऐसा हो गया है ना, तो ठीक है प्रभु हो गया तो ठीक है, हो गया तो हो गया है ना, क्या है ना." So just tolerate it, right? What to do, right? If you want to milk the cows, you have to bear the kicks also, right? But we shouldn't think that we are milking the cow and giving the milk to others, so we can kick others, right? If we have that mentality, then again we start, offending others, right? So that's the third category of people. And the fourth category of people, they see good as well as bad, but consciously they would neglect bad and focus on good things. And who does it? It's a spiritual master and the exalted devotees. Consciously they neglect the bad things and they focus on the good things. Because if we don't do it, if we don't start cultivating it, then we can't preach also, right? Because when you go for preaching and you just look at the bad things, then you don't feel like to preach. Imagine Prabhupada when he went to States, he was not sitting and preaching in an environment like this. The people around him, they were all filled with all type of bad qualities which you can think, which you can imagine, and you won't like to go and sit even next to that person, right? So Prabhupada was in that kind of environment. But what Prabhupada did? Prabhupada, he consciously neglected all those bad things, and he focused only one thing about the instruction with spiritual master, right? That you have to go and preach in the West. So then he said, okay, Maharaj has given him the instruction. Then the people will take up the Krishna consciousness. And all the time he was thinking, that Krishna is in everyone's heart, that if I am pure, the message will reach to their heart, right? So that's what he was doing. So it's very important when we preach, when we go out for preaching and in Krishna consciousness, then when we meet with the people, right, we don't see the bad thing in those people, right? Whatever bad qualities they have got, we should neglect those qualities. Our fire of devotion service should be so much strong that whatever bad comes in our contact should get burnt into it, right? We shouldn't get affected by those bad things, right? Otherwise we are not the devotee. Somebody was telling me, like the New Year Eve, we shouldn't go out. I said, why shouldn't you go out, right? If you do go out with the kids, what is bad in that? Because now where the kids will look at, somebody was telling me that we have to go to some house, because the wife is pregnant and they want to hold the program, so we should do the Krishna Katha so that, baby can become the devotee, So I said, Mataji, okay, we will go and do the Katha. Mataji, I think you, right? Aapne bola mere ko. I was talking to Mataji, Mataji, theek hai, hum log ghar pe jayenge, Katha karenge, So baby will be hearing the Katha, And he said, pray for the baby so that baby can become Krishna conscious, baby can become the Vaishnava, So मैंने कहा, ये सब हमको सुनने में अच्छा लगता है, But think from the point of view of the baby who is sitting in the warm and hearing the Katha, He will be so much upset, right? He said, Prabhuji, Mataji, you enjoyed your own time, right? And I have not come to this material world, right? And before I appear in this world, you are telling me that become a devotee, So what do you mean, Shouldn't I eat chocolate? Shouldn't I eat ice cream, right? So see, we are so much obsessed, with our own ideas, our own imaginations, right? Once we become a devotee, that everybody around us should become a devotee immediately, and then we ignore so many things in that process, and many times we even hurt those people, and those people they are not able to take up the Krishna consciousness. I did the same thing in the past, I have made so many mistakes, and I believe if I had not done those mistakes, many more people would have become Krishna consciousness. All the time we tell them, okay, do this. All the time, do this, right? Don't do, right? In my case, in my early days when I was in Airport Road, I know when we started the program, anybody comes to me, first I tell them about chanting, then, okay, do these things, don't do these things, right? Some people, they took it up, and many people, they did not take it up, But I didn't realize, that what I was doing, it was not correct. Same thing, we avoided all those houses where they were eating non-veg. We said we won't go to that place, or if we go to that place, we won't eat. But just a few years back, we realized, that you just compromise on that, you don't eat non-veg, but let them have the opportunity to give you some prasad, right? With that, they become the devotee, With that, become the devotee, If I eat the prasad in one house, even it's not prasad, just a food in a house where they're cooking the non-veg, how does it affect my Krishna consciousness? We shouldn't be eating, right? But if I eat, not for my sense gratification, but with a mood, if I'm going to his house, if I eat food one time, at least that point of time, कम से कम एक बार तो पाप करने से बचेगा वो, Isn't it, प्रभु? अगर किसी घर पे जाते हो जहाँ पे नॉनवेज बनाते हैं वो, और आप उस घर में खाते हो आप, तो कम से कम वो आदमी एक समय तो पाप करने से बच गया वो, Right or not? So how does it affect your Krishna consciousness? And second time you go, what happens? Second time you do the same thing. Third time you go, third time same thing. So many times now consciously I will make a point. I go to the house where they eat the non-veg, and I tell them, Prabhu, please, just take care, just take care. And slowly we see that that house start getting the new vessels, where they don't cook the non-veg. And slowly, we take, Krishna's picture, दामोदर महीने में कि प्रभु just picture को रखो यहाँ पर, थोड़ा भाई कभी-कभी उसको घी के चावल ऑफर कर देने का उसको, That's how they start, And slowly, they come even to the chanting. It happened to even our own, in case your sister Rupali ke, right? It happened even with them, And this happened after 24 years. After 20 years, sorry. So imagine if I had sacrificed on some of the principles, for the sake of cultivating them, with a mood, no, this person has to become a devotee, then by now they would have become a devotee, better devotee. Right or not, Prabhu? So we have to be practical, not the fanatic, in the name of Krishna consciousness. If others' bad habit affects me, it's a problem with me, not with others. I am not pure in my devotion service. That's why other bad things are affecting me. Right or not? So what should I do? I should become more pure in my devotion service. I should improve my standards of devotion service. Then you can walk around wherever you walk. Many times you see the people, they go to the clubs to do the kirtan. Clubs, all the nonsense things are there. They come back, next time again they go to the club. Come back again, next time they go to the club. They keep going to the club for years and years. Why? Because they are so much fired up in their devotion service that wherever they go, those things cannot touch us. But in my case, certain things I don't want to do. I want to do as well as I don't want to do. Once, there were some shopkeepers, textile shopkeepers, they finish their work there at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and that time they come to the house. So we had a late night program in their houses. But then I realized, that this is the extreme. This will affect even my own sadhana, right? If I'm not good in my sadhana, then what can I preach? And even Maharaj said, that don't do these things. Light should be shut down by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So again, you have to, balance. You have to balance, right? One side you can do certain things. One side you cannot do these things. And that's why the association of the devotees is important. Because when you associate with the devotees and talk to the devotees and consult with them, then you can get some practical advice. Otherwise, what happens in the name of devotion service? We kill the devotion of so many other people. And again, Prabhuji and Mataji, the devotion is not external, it's all internal. Last week, we had a program in one of the person's house, this Maharaj Vyas Puja, right?
Bhuvanesh.
Bhuvanesh Prabhu, So although he has taken a Dakṣa from somebody else in Vrindavan, but doesn't mean it's a bad, We should not think that only people in ISKCON will get liberated. Another misconception we have got, that only people in ISKCON will get liberated. Whatever we are doing in ISKCON, that's the only right thing. Whatever others are doing, that's not correct. Another misconception. Prabhuji, we have 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. And ISKCON is Gaudiya, Brahma Gaudiya Madhav Sampradaya is one of those Sampradayas. There are other 4 Sampradayas also. We were in Udupi, Prabhu, just 1 month back. We were in Udupi. So there are 8 mathas. And each of the matha has got one head priest. One, And when we were there, we got to know more about it. We had one Sugrindu Swami Maharaj at our house last year before last year. We did not, we did not know about him, right? We did not invite him. And I was so much skeptical whether I should invite him to my house or not. Then we talked to so many people and what they are going to do. Then we got to know, okay, they are all Vaishnavas. What he is going to do? He is going to bring his Lord Prahlad Narasimha deities and Shaligram Sela do the Tulsi Puja, and he brought them to our house. And still I was so much, uncomfortable, because I never did it. But when we were in Udupi, this time we got to know that all these Matha Adhikaris, they become the Adhikaris when they are in the age of 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. And the person who came to our house, he was 70 years. So imagine for 47 years, he has been worshipping Udupi Lord Krishna, and he was at our house without being invited. And when you go there in Udupi, such kind of people, you can't go near them. People will, वो दूर हटाते हैं तुमको. आपने देखा होगा ना, दूर जाओ. You can't go even near them, right? Can't even touch them. And recently one of those Swamijis passed away,
Yes, 2-3 days.
Right? At the age of 9, he became the Matha Adhikari, and he left his body at the age of 88 years. So imagine 79 years worshipping Lord Krishna. Although they may not be preaching like us, but worshipping Krishna, following the path of devotion service, isn't it a devotion, right?
He gave the class also a few days back.
Who?
Same.
Yeah.
And
And just, he was on the ventilator, and just before he got to know, the doctors told it's serious, he was brought back to Matha. And in front of the Lord, he left his body. So auspicious, right? So auspicious. So the point is that we should not think that people only in ISKCON will get liberated. We don't want to follow them, right? Because that creates a confusion in the society. We don't follow their principles, right? But we have to respect them, as a devotee. We have to respect them as a devotee. We don't follow them, right? We don't follow the principles because we stick to Prabhupada principles. But doesn't mean that their principles are bad. So anyway, so this Prabhu, this Vrindavan, he took the Dakṣa from one of the Guru. Fine, he is from Brahmanati, completely renunciated. And every day morning they finish their worship, prayers before 6 o'clock. Isn't it good, right? Isn't it good? So why don't we treat that person as a devotee, right? He or she may or may not do the chanting, That's another thing. And again, chanting doesn't mean every day chanting only Hare Krishna mantra 16 rounds. You have so many options. Hare Krishna mantra is, the topmost mantra, is the king of the mantras. But apart from that, we have Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We have, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. These are all mantras are there. So when we see people are chanting these mantras, we shouldn't be critical of them. We shouldn't be critical of them. They are doing something is better than things. Some people, they don't do anything. They are chanting Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. What is bad in that? Let them continue to chant. Encourage them. Prabhu, chant karo, Chant karo. It's very good, But whenever the opportunity is there, okay, Prabhu, if you can chant one round, it's good, Ask them to add. Ask them to add. Not ask them to change anything. That's the mistake I did in the beginning. Tell them, do these things, don't do these things. Instead of telling them, Prabhu, simply add few times chanting Hare Krishna. Then the mantra potency will make them chant more. Right? So anyway, the point is that the 4th category people, they see good and bad and consciously neglect bad. And many times, we see the bad even in good things. That's what we do many times. The person is chanting, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It's a good thing, but still he is not chanting Hare Krishna mantra, so he is not a devotee. Maharaj would never like it. Maharaj didn't like it. And Maharaj, many times he would recite the poems sung by Narsi Mehta. Why? Because they are all devotees. But one thing we have to remember, that we must follow Prabhupada. While I am saying these things, we should not forget that we should deviate from Prabhupada. No addition, no deletion to what Prabhupada has said. But we should be smart enough in terms of dealing with the devotees. Fault finding comes, when does it come? When we start dealing with the people, right? Then only the fault finding comes in. If you don't deal with anybody, then no fault finding. Dead body doesn't have any fault finding. But dead body doesn't deal with anybody. There is no fault finding. The fault finding kicks in only when we start dealing with the people. So that's what we need to remember. They don't see the bad things in the good things. And instead of seeing the bad things in others, try to improve Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. Whenever we recite that verse, the Tivrena Bhakti Yogena should always apply to us and not to others. We should have such a fiery devotion service that whosoever comes in contact with the devotion service gets dried up, burned up, right? अब सूरज देखो ना आप, that is so powerful, but does it get affected by the dirty water, the smell of the dirty water? ये गंदा पानी है ना, कितनी गंदगी आती है, कितनी स्मेल आती है गंदे पानी से. लेकिन गंदा पानी सूरज के सामने रहे तो पूरा सूख जाता है, उसकी स्मेल भी खत्म हो जाती है. लेकिन कभी सूरज की रोशनी में से देखा आपने स्मेल आते हुए? So we should have that much fiery devotional service like a sun, that anything comes in the contact with that gets burned up. And then only we can, Namani Anantasya Hata Tripaha Patan Guhyani Bhadrani Kritani Chasma Gam Paryatam Satushta Mana Gataspraha Kalam Vimada
Kalam Pratikshan Vimado Vimsara.
Kalam Pratikshan Vimado Vimasarana. So this is the meaning, गाम पर्यटन जगह जगह में जाता था मैं. नारद मुनि इज टेलिंग किस मूड में नामानी अनंत से हत तृप कि ऑल द टाइम द चैंटिंग ऑफ द नेम शुड गो ऑन in our mind, and with that mood we can go anywhere. We are free to preach, and that's a free to preach. And again, the mood should be, if our mood is sense gratification, then it's a problem. The mood is to purify others, to save them from the sins, then it's a devotion service, right? Isn't it, Prabhu? So next time when it comes, you have the opportunity, you are invited to a place where they cook the non-veg, don't see them with a hatred mood. They are not the object of hatredness. They are the object of sympathy. Anybody who is in the mode of passion and ignorance, they should be the object of our sympathy, not the object of our hatred, right or not? If we are in the mode of goodness. If we are not in the mode of goodness, then then if we see somebody in the mode of passion and ignorance, we also come down to the same level. That's why Shiva, that's why there's the difference. Now see, in the background I mentioned to you, now the sacrificial anira is there. The host is sitting there. The guests have come in. Shiva, he is like, worshipable even by Dakṣa Prajapati. Dakṣa is speaking such a shameless words and insulting Shiva. But see the difference between the Prajapati and Shiva. Prajapati, he was the host. He organized the sacrifice. He shouldn't have left the place. Right? Who should have left the place? Shiva should have left the place. But what happened? Vice versa. Prajapati, he left the place. He couldn't control his anger. Immediately his mode of ignorance took over him. He was overtaken by mode of ignorance. And see other side, Shiva, who is a devotee of the Lord, true devotee of the Lord. He was so much insulted. But he continued to stay in the place. But when did he leave? He did not leave because he was being insulted. Why did he leave?
They started.
Yeah, because he did not want to hear cursing and counter cursing. That was against his principle of devotion service. That's what Prabhupada says in the purport. The thing is that Prabhuji Mataji, Satī Devi, she will say later on, she continues in the next few verses. So if we continue to hear the faults of others, then what happens? We also become faulty. We will get those faults in us. That's sure, Prabhu. The kind of people you associate, you become that kind of person, right, Prabhu? हम अच्छी चीज सुनेंगे, हम तोते के बारे में सुनते हैं ना प्रभु हम लोग, है ना, राइट? तोता क्या करता है ना, हाँ, तोता जो सुनेगा उसको रिपीट करेगा, राइट? So same thing, our subtle mind is taking all those bad things, and when we are faced with a situation, we repeat the same thing, right? So that's why it says, that not only blaspheming the devotees, I have not come to the stage of devotees, and even in journal, we are saying. So forget criticizing others, even we keep hearing the criticism of others, then we start getting those faults in our mind. And that's why, Prabhuji, Mataji, we have to be very selective when we go to the social media. There are so many social groups, so many things come on those social groups. So we have to be very much selective, and very selective, and we should spend the minimum time on the social media stuff. First of all, it's a dead means of communication, right? There is no personal communication. So always communication gap is there, right? There's a personal communication when we talk to each other. And then communication we exchange through WhatsApp and emails. This is all dead communication, Prabhu. It's not a healthy communication. So whatever is happening in the society, it's unavoidable. But we should remember, Prabhu, and Mataji's, that this is very bad. This is very bad. All this social media is very bad. This is killing us. Everything has become everything unwanted has become so much easily accessible that we have to be cautious of that. All these things have a subtle effect on our mind. And that's what I tell everybody, including, in our family, when we go to our relatives' houses, Rupali and all, right? Many times we have, some serials in the TV, which are like family serials. But I'm never ever in the favor of, anyone watching the family serials. Because family serials, all talks about the family issues, all the good and bad things. And what happens, sooner or later, those things has a subtle effect, those things take over us. I read some time back one news. The boy, he was playing a video game and he continued to play that game for 6-7 hours. And after the 6-7 hours, he killed himself. He got so much absorbed. He started thinking that he is a part of the game. So same thing when we watch this social media, movies, serials and all. What happens? We start feeling that, those things are happening to us. And when we face this situation that we think is happening to us, is what we do? We don't go back to the Bhagavatam. We don't look at Shiva. We don't look at Dakṣa Pradapati, right? We just think about what this person, how did the person reacted in the serial, how did the person reacted in the movie, right, Prabhu? So it's all killing us, right? So we have to remember. It's not bad. Again, I'm not saying, Prabhu, we have to balance. I do watch the TVs, but I watch the comedy serials. I do watch the movies, but again, okay, it's not something, which is a regular, Comes to that point, okay, then you should know that you have to give a break to it. But the point is that, Prabhu, again, the point is about fault finding, the seeing the faults even when somebody has a good thing. So anyway, it's about the hearing that Shiva left the place. Why? Not because he was insulted, because it was a waste of his time. He said this would affect my devotion service, even hearing the curse and counter curse. And another thing here, many times, when we see the fault, it can be our perception that the person is a fault, but that's not the reality. It's our perception. Sometimes back I shared one story that a couple, changed the house, and every day morning they would take a coffee, they would drink a coffee in the balcony, and the husband would condemn the neighbor. See the neighbor, what kind of neighbor? Never changes the bed sheet, and every day I see the spot sheet. 1, 2, 3, 4 days. And one day they were having the coffee in the balcony, and the man jumped. He was so much excited. He said, now, this person, he listened to me. Today, see, he changed his bed sheet. So then wife said, my dear husband, he did not change the bed sheet. Rather, I cleaned my window. Our windows were stained with the dirt. So through the stained window, whatever you are seeing, that was all. There's a lot of dirt, right? Whatever you see, it's dirty. So the thing is that our eyes are always stained with the dirt. So whatever we see the dirt. So we have to remember another thing before we start criticizing others. And again, Prabhuji Mataji, we have to see, many times we say we have to offer the constructive criticism, right? In the office, and our office environment, it's very, very common, right? It's very common thing, that we have to offer the constructive criticism. Constructive means which is beneficial for the other person. So again, we have to test, there are certain criteria, where we have to test ourselves. Once a person approached Socrates, he said, I want to talk to you something very interesting. He said, okay, what is that? It's about, your friend. So he said, fine, just wait a minute, hold on. So tell me first of all, whatever you're going to tell me, is it true or false? He said, I'm not sure it's a true or false. He said, I should stop you now itself. because you are not sure it's a true or false, but giving you the benefit of doubt. Go ahead, but before you go ahead, tell me one thing, that what you are going to tell me, is it good or bad? He said again, I'm not sure it's good or bad, but I think it's bad. So he said, fine, it may be bad, but tell me one thing, that even it's a bad, is it going to benefit me or my friend in any way? He said, no, I don't think it's going to benefit either you or your friend. So he said, okay, don't talk about it. So the thing is that even if, first of all, it's a true or false, okay, it will not be true. I'm telling false, right? So even it's a false, the thing we have to see, if I'm talking a false thing, is it a good thing or bad thing, right? Even the false can be good or bad, right? We can falsely glorify somebody. That's not a bad, it's a good thing, right? So it's good or bad. And even it's a bad, is it beneficial? Is it going to affect in a positive manner the other person or not? And then again, one thing we have to remember, are we the authority to give the feedback? Srila Prabhupada says always there are authorities. The Krishna is the authority, Guru Maharaj is the authority, senior devotees are the authorities. The husband is the authority, teacher is the authority. Not everyone is the authority. And many times what happens, when we start giving the suggestions, we cross that limit, we cross that boundaries, and we start giving the suggestion or criticizing even our superiors. That's where it comes to aparad. That's where it comes to the aparad. There are two things, sin and aparad. The sin is what? Pap. Aparad is the offense. But for the sin there is a remedy. Aparad there is no remedy. Offense there is no remedy. Particularly if you do the aparad against the devotees. Papa, pap, sin. If you actually do it, like eating non-veg is a sin, right? If I am thinking, I am eating chicken, I am eating burger, blah blah, right? Okay, I am thinking, but no sin, no counter reaction. I am सोच रहा हूँ मैं उसके बारे में, but if I eat, okay, I get the counter reaction. But offense, aparad, even if you think in the mind, you have the reaction. किसी डिवोटी के बारे में मन में भी हमने बुरा सोचा तो वो अपराध है. और डिवोटी वो नहीं जो अभी डिवोटी है, जो डिवोटी हो सकते हैं. और ऐसा नहीं जो अभी डिवोटी हैं जो डिवोटी हो सकते हैं. इन रियल स्पिरिट एवरीवन इज अ डिवोटी. जीवेरे स्वरूप है नित्य कृष्णदास. एवरीबडी हु इज सिटिंग हियर इज अ डिवोटी है ना. सो अल्टीमेटली ऑन द हाईएस्ट प्लेटफॉर्म ऑफ प्रिंसिपल वी शुडंट criticize anybody. We shouldn't be giving our suggestion to anybody. First class devotee. But that's not possible. But again, we have to see what is our position. And then, do I have the right motive or not? कि जब हम किसी को suggestion दे रहे हैं, when we are trying to rectify somebody, what is our motive? हमारा mood क्या है? कि ठीक है, I am the authority. But what is the mood? कि mood should not be पहले का बदला लेने का है ना. कि ठीक है, पहले इसने ऐसा बोला था मेरे को, अभी तो मौका मिल गया मेरे को है ना. तो अभी पहला वाला अकाउंट क्लियर करेंगे. एंड द थर्ड, इवन इफ आई हैव द अथॉरिटी, राइट, एंड इवन विद द राइट मूड, देन आई शुड नो द राइट वे. व्हाट इज द वे टू गिव, व्हाट इज द वे टू प्रेजेंट इट, माय सजेशन. इट शुड बी इन अ हम्बल मैनर. एंड अगेन द टाइमिंग इज इंपॉर्टेंट. व्हेन डू वी ऑफर अवर क्रिटिसिज्म? इफ समबडी, I was in the Delhi, one of the congregation program, after the program, one Mataji was, very much upset, she was literally crying, because she made some bhoga, उसमें कुछ पता नहीं नमक ज़्यादा हो गया उसके अंदर, कुछ नमक ही ज़्यादा हो गया था. Almost 2 times she put the salt, and people were not able to eat, and the person who organized the program, immediately he condemned the Mataji, कि Mataji कैसा आपने ये क्या सब्जी बनाया, इसमें 2 बार नमक डाल दिया, आपको नहीं मालूम कि वो blah blah, right? Mataji कह रही हैं, प्रभु जी मैं कल रात को लेट नाइट ऑफिस से आई, आई हैड टू वर्क इन द होम, मेरे छोटे बच्चे हैं ना, इन द होम, आई वाज इन अ रश, मेरे को ये करना था, राइट. सो आई कुड अंडरस्टैंड हर पोजीशन, राइट. सो सेम थिंग बिफोर, सी द टाइमिंग वाज इनकरेक्ट, टू टेल द पर्सन और माता जी दैट ओके जो तुमने सब्जी बनाया बिल्कुल खराब है ना, ये ओके खराब है, बट नॉट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम इमीडिएटली स्टार्ट कंडेमिंग. किसी ने घर की तैयारी करने में, प्रोग्राम की तैयारी करने में 4 घंटे लगाए ना, और घर में घुसते ही if I start telling कि ये गड़बड़े, right? Then what happens, the next time no more we have that house, no more we get that house. So similarly, Prabhu Mata, we have to remember, That we all do these things. Even I do these things. I am telling you these things because I have done these things in the past. Even I do many times these things. But I have learned a lot from these mistakes. And I try to avoid these things. By telling others not to do these things, because I am also preaching to myself. So we should remember. Because if you don't do it, then first of all, we get affected. We get affected by these things. And second, we spoil the devotion service of so many other people. The people get agitated. They can't perform the devotion service. Many times, we know the person is doing wrong. He is not right. So what to do? What to do? Just leave it. That person, do your best what you can do. Because everyone is his own destiny. Right? We can't change the whole world. We can't change the whole world. Just leave the place. Leave the situation. That's what Satī is telling us in the subsequent verses. Right? Just leave the place. What Shiva did? She left the place. वहां पर उसका सर्वेंट भी था शिवजी का नंदी महाराज वो सर्वेंट भी थे उनके he said I cannot change my servant right otherwise Shiva was in a position to scold the servant okay, what are you doing, stop it he said that point it will not work so many times although you are the authority but you can't change the person around you Shiva couldn't control his servant right Nandi couldn't control his wife so what okay you face your destiny Shiva told his wife if you go there, it will be like your death. And that's what happened later on. So what is our right? Etes sham shrey asase. We wish the good for everybody. We try to do good for everybody. But in that process, we shouldn't start criticizing or finding the faults. Because first we find the faults, then we start criticizing. And many times it becomes our nature also. Nature of us. In my early days of Krishna consciousness, I stopped taking the phone calls of some people. Because whenever I pick up the phone call in the name of hi, hello, I started going to Gram Katha. Then I stopped taking the calls. I said, as soon as I see the caller ID, mobile to thani us samitra caller ID iska phone hai. Sorry, I don't want to take the calls. We should remember, Prabhu, in the name of hi, hello, bog down, Gram Katha, iska kya ho raha, iska kya ho raha, iska kya ho raha, aise ho raha, aise ho raha, aise ho raha. And many times, it's required, but on a very restricted manner, when it's absolutely needed. Prabhupada used to say, for the purpose of preaching, the first class devotee has to come down to the second level devotee. What does it mean? First class devotee doesn't see the fault in anybody. For him, everybody is a devotee. If I have that vision, then I cannot preach anybody. Then we have to discriminate. But again, discrimination should be with humility not with arrogance. Not with arrogance. And we all have to remember. And particularly as we start growing up in the congregation, because as we start growing up in the congregation, including myself, we start getting called senior. Senior. We keep hearing Prabhu, 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 Prabhu. Right? So literally we start feeling that we are the master now, I am the Prabhu now. We forget that I am Svayam Sphuraty Krishnadas. That's my name. We forget that I am the Das, I am the servant. That's what Maharaj told me, that you are the Das. Yeah? But since I don't call myself Das, right? I keep hearing Prabhu, Prabhu. So subtle effect, because I am also a Prabhu, you are all servant. And that's how I start giving the orders to everybody. When I am coordinating for the programs, talking to the devotees. Right? So that's so subtle, Prabhuji Mataji. Right? So subtle. So we have to be very much conscious about these things. As we become older and older in the congregation, we should watch ourselves that all these subtle faults, they creep so subtly in us that we do these mistakes every day, but we don't realize. We think, okay, this is the part of the devotion service. No, this is not the part of devotion service. So we have to watch it. But anyway, Prabhuji Mataji, I couldn't talk about the things what I wanted to talk. The notes are as it is, right? Yeah, notes are as it is, So no, Prabhu. This is the third part, Prabhu.
Next year.
What we started, next year.
2021.
2021, yeah.
No.
2021.
We have Hindu New Year coming, so.
Yeah, God willing. But yeah, please be here with us for 15 minutes.
Only see the
Fifth type, they only see the good things, and whatever they see a good thing. Fourth category to wo hai ki they see good as it is bad, but consciously they neglect bad and focus on good. The fifth category,
See only good.
they see only good and they magnify the good to a large extent we can't imagine.
Consciously
Like-
make it bad.
No, fifth category में they don't see the bad. फिफ्थ में तो थोड़ा सा भी गुण देखा उसको मैग्नीफाई करेंगे ना. जैसे कृष्णा ने किया कि कृष्णा ने क्या देखा कि मुझे देने के लिए आई है, क्या देने के लिए वो नहीं देखा, और कितना मैग्नीफाई किया उसको अपना माँ बना लिया है. या राइट, पूतना को. दैट्स द एक्सटेंट. दैट्स ओनली कृष्णा's पोजीशन है और द स्पिरिचुअल मास्टर है. दैट्स व्हाई प्रभुपाद यूज्ड टू से वी आर ऑल एट द स्टेज ऑफ 5, grade 5, right? We cannot come to 1, but come to at least the stage 4, 3, 2, and the one you cannot come in, right? You can't think about it.
We cannot see. First of all, we cannot see our own bad things because we think that we are perfect and all others are imperfect. So, if for the correctness in between, suppose within the circle, if somebody wants to correct us, that was this is your something is less. So please correct it. So in that mood, how it is, although it is a very thin line, so how it will be benefit to that?
Yeah, Prabhu, we have to correct, but as I said, it should come with the humility, And many times, including myself, Prabhu, we cross the boundaries. Whenever I go for the program, when we have to organize the things, I always feel that I am offending all these people around me, I shouldn't be talking in this manner. Before I start the program, I always think, I always make a conscious effort that I should control myself, I should do it better, I should do better, I should do better. That's all I can do, Prabhu. But everybody does the same thing, So we should be humble as much as possible, Prabhu. And then, again, once we make the efforts, Krishna sees the efforts. And if we consciously and constantly make the efforts, the success will come, Prabhu. Okay, Prabhu Mataji. So thank you so much, Prabhu, for your time.